Hey guys, welcome to season 2 of Sailor Berry. This episode is a little bit different. The main reason it's different is it's more of a discussion. Simon does a bunch of math, and I have a discussion with Simon afterwards. What's the math about? The math is about making your sailboat electric. It's the cold hard facts of putting an electric motor into your boat. The actual math on transporting a boat about the size of Dagon. If you're interested in this, keep watching, and I'm sure a lot of you will also find it interesting to either have your dreams reassured on making your sailboat electric or having your dreams absolutely crushed underneath the weight of $10,000 of batteries. Watch it, find out.
Hi, my name is Simon, and I'm building an electric boat.
Okay, hold up. So when Simon says he's building an electric boat, he means it. He has been working on this boat for years, and he's made massive strides, and he's doing some pretty incredible things with it. The massive amount of work he's done just in restoring it to getting it to where it is now, and his plans with it are incredible. And if you haven't seen his show, check it out. It's Finding Simon on YouTube, and he is one of my best friends and one of the best people I've ever met. So definitely go check it out. It's well worth it. And this is just to give you some idea of his credibility. The electrical systems on board and just the wonderful world that he's created for himself should speak for themselves.
And I'm building an electric boat, and Barry's having some engine problems, so he's starting to think about electric boats. He's not very good at math, so we're going to do the math for him. SV Dagon. Should we go electric? Should we go diesel? I know there's plenty of fanboys of both, so we're going to swap it right down the middle and do a little comparison. Now, electric and diesel are two very different paradigms when it comes to cost, to storage, to power output, to a lot of things. So where is the money mainly at for both? A lot of folks will focus on the motor engine, but in this case it's a motor on the electric side, and honestly I feel like that's a little bit of a misstep because the motors aren't really that big a difference. You have anywhere from $1,500 all the way up to, you can spend crazy amount of money, but let's just say conservatively, a $2,500 a motor. You can get power ratings anywhere between 2 kilowatts to 20 kilowatts. So that's a decent amount of power. So 2 kilowatts is like 3 horsepower, 20 kilowatts is nearly 30 horsepower. So that's a pretty big window, but that's not the main cost. So these will also take a $2,000 ESC. Now the ESC is electronic speed controller or motor controller, or there's a lot of words for this, but essentially it's a inverter that converts DC battery power to a form of AC that can control the motor. So most motors run on 3-phase, and so you need an inverter that can pump out 3-phase. These are specific types of controllers. You can get some generic ones. Curtis makes a lot of generic ones that will fit a lot of motors. And motor types, there's a lot of motor types. You can do AC induction, you can get permanent magnet DC, you can get brush DC, lots of options there too, and each have their own strengths and weaknesses. Now, that leaves the big boy that everyone talks about being the reason why they can't do it, battery. Now, that is big question mark. So we're going to do the math for the battery. But before we do that, let's compare it to diesel. Now, right now on the used market, we have someone asking $7,000 for a diesel engine that's quite similar to what Barry has in there right now, and transmission combo. So that is a significant chunk of cash. Not only that, but this engine is also large, and so it has to be craned in. That's an added fee. It also needs to be mounted, embedded, all the same stuff between the two, but you need to sort out fueling tanks as well. So fuel is also a big question mark, because it all depends on how much you motor and over the course of a year, right? Whereas this guy, it's per day we're concerned with, right? Per charging cycle, right? So fueling, like, I guess because Dagon is a monohull, maybe we should put week here because he's not able to put a lot of solar on his boat, so it's going to take a week to charge up what he's going to consume if he's just on the hook. The price of fuel is not going down, right? Right now we're sitting at over $2 a liter here in Canada. So what is that? That's $6, $7, $8 a gallon. It's getting high. And then if you're getting it at a dock, a lot of docks have a surcharge on that as well. So it's not a completely inconsiderate amount of money when you're comparing it to batteries. Now, the batteries right now, let's look at some cheap batteries here. Barry has a sponsor, Redodo Power, that sent him out a battery not too long ago. I think is that a 200 amp hour? Yeah. So he's got a 200 amp hour, 12.8 volt. So what is the cost on that one? It is currently on sale for $890. And that is 2.5 kilowatts. So, great. That's a good number to know. Plus tax. So we're not going to worry about tax right now. But let's just say Barry's he wants a 28 horsepower diesel engine. Now, 28 horsepower, so that means he'd need a 20 kilowatt electric motor to be in that same ballpark. That's a pretty high number, 20 kilowatts. I know of a few electric cars rolling down the road with that much power in them, right? So that's not an inconsequential amount of power. And also 20 kilowatt, you'd be on the higher end. You're looking at 2,500, maybe a little bit more if you're trying to be, that's still like the cheapest options, right? So you can spend 10 grand on that motor, no problem. There are plenty like that. But let's just say he wants to use this 20 kilowatt motor. He wants to run it at 75% power. So he's going to burn 15 kilowatts while he's running it. Okay. And he's going to cruise at like 15. So he's putting down 18 horsepower into the water. Maybe he's making, let's say, optimistically, he's making 6 knots. Now the crossing between, so 6 knots at 15 kilowatts. I'll write that down here. 6 knots, 15 kilowatts. This speed has a very diminishing return the faster you go. So this is going to be on the high end for his boat, definitely. 15 kilowatts and 6. So let's divide 23 knots between here. So you're going to be spending 4 hours to cross the Georgia Strait if he's motoring, right? So 4 times 15 kilowatts, that means he needs a battery pack of 60 kilowatt hours. Okay? 2.5 kilowatt hours costs $890. So if we divide 60 divided by 2.5, okay, that gives you an answer of 24. And you multiply that by $890. So that battery pack to do a crossing at 6 knots is $21,360. Okay? That's a lot of money. Now, how much fuel is that? Let's divide that by whatever it is right now, 2.2. So that's 9,000. That equals 9,709 liters of diesel. And I don't know what the fuel consumption is for his boat, but let's say it's 2 liters per hour. He's still looking at 4,000 hours before that makes any sense. 4,000 hours on a diesel engine is a pretty significant amount. You're starting to look at rebuilding at this point in time for some engines, right?
Okay, hold up. Think about that for 2 seconds. The amount it costs to purchase the batteries is the same as the diesel costs for the entire lifetime of a diesel engine.
So that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, honestly. Especially when you compare the monetary amount here. It's hard to make that justification. Eventually, yes, 4,000 hours on, you have now spent less on electricity as you have on diesel. But of course, you've got to do that 4,000 hours in less than 10 years because these battery packs have a 10-year lifespan. So you're spending 21,000 this year, and then 10 years from now, you'll be needing, again, 60 kilowatt hours. How are you going to get it? Now, there are cheaper ways than buying. Like, if you were going to do this, I would be making your own packs, right? You're at a point now where buying 24 200 amp hour batteries and trying to find a place to store them on your boat would be very difficult. Okay? But there's another alternative. It's called not having a lead foot. So if Barry's looking at this 28 horsepower, he wants to be able to put his foot to the floor and really motor out of a bad situation. That is a nice safety feature. And you can still go and get your 20 kilowatt hour or 20 kilowatt motor, but you can sit down instead of burning 15 kilowatts to get 6 knots, you can cruise at 3.5. Let's say 3.5 knots, you're burning a lot less. You're in the, let's say, 4 kilowatt range, right? I'm basing these numbers off of other 36-foot boats that I've seen already converted to electric. But it's a very rough thing because, of course, Dagon doesn't have the same slipstream. She's full keel. She's not fin keel. I'm comparing it to a lot of fin keels. So this number is probably going to be higher. So let's just say, let's make it real easy. 4 kilowatts is 3 knots is 4 kilowatts. Okay? I'll round down a little bit. So, again, we're looking at the 23 knot journey divided by 3, 7.6. So 7.6 hours times 4 kilowatts. So now he needs a 30 kilowatt hour pack. Half what it was up here, right? You're going half the speed, you're going the same distance, you're burning half the power, right? That's very different math. So now you're looking at a $10,000 pack, right? Still a lot of money. And you're still having to find a place to put 12 giant batteries in your boat. It's not an inconsequential amount of electricity. And that's just to do 23 nautical miles, right? And then you need to charge it for a week, probably, because you need to put somehow 30 kilowatt hours of juice in. My giant 6,000 watt pack solar array on the roof of my boat can pull in this basically maximum in a day on a sunny summer day. Barry's got a tenth of what I've got. So he's going to take 10 days in this bright summer sun to put that kind of power into his pack. And now all that time he can't be using the batteries. Otherwise, it's going to add days to that journey. So that means realistically, he's only able to motor across the Georgia Strait once every 2 weeks with this pack. These are constraints that you have to think about. This is the math you got to do to really wrap your head around it. Now, I've been a little long-winded here, and I don't know exactly what the fuel consumption is, but we'll go talk to Barry in person. We'll show him this piece of paper, and I think he's going to want to just buy the $500 V drive that he needs to set this up instead of spending $10,000 on batteries, plus $2,500 on a motor or more, plus $2,000 on an ESC. Yeah, he's up at, $15,000. And you still need to get control screens. You need to get throttles. You need to get all these other little bits and pieces. It's not cheap. It does add up, and he needs to build a pack that's capable of 48 volts at least, because to get any kind of efficiency out of these motors, the higher the voltage, the more efficient they run. So that's why electric cars now are running 250 volts DC or more, right? So there's a few options. Now, you can circumvent a lot of these numbers by buying a used electric car. You're getting a used battery pack that's damaged, or used up in part, right? You're getting a motor that might not be fully compatible and fully line up properly. There's a lot of messing around, but if you can drop that number under 15,000 for a 30 kilowatt hour pack with your motor and everything, it starts to make some sense. You just have to figure out what your time is worth, and if you can't do this, what a machinist's time is worth or an installer's time is worth. You can track those numbers too. So it's not a cheap game. So it takes a long time for this all to pay off. But the advantage is, of course, that when he's at anchor, he has a 30 kilowatt hour pack to use. That means he's got a lot of electricity to ride out some dull days in the wintertime and, not making much power. He's still got a lot of electricity. He can make a kettle go. He can fire up a electric grill. He can do a lot of electric stuff. But that's a big number, and so is that. And that's a fucking huge number. So we'll see what he says. All right. I found this guy. We can go for part 2 where I explain to him why this is a bad idea.
Oh no.
Some bad news for you, my friend. Did some math. Motors themselves are pretty cheap. ESCs are kind of a set amount. You're looking at roughly 5,000 for just the power making part of it, and to have throttles and switches and breakers and all the things that you need. But the real game comes down to batteries. So to get a 60 kilowatt hour pack, which would allow you to put the 20 kilowatt motor at 75%, which is 15 kilowatts, which is
60 kilowatts. How much is in a Tesla?
a Tesla Model S version 1 had a 100 kilowatt hour pack.
Roger, got it.
So I think the Model 3 has a 60 kilowatt. Let me check.
So regardless, it's a fuck ton of power.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like a household generally burns 30 kilowatt hours a day. Like a full household, suburban household.
Yeah.
30, 35. So you need twice that to run your boat. Just to put, basically 20 horsepower into the water for the 4 hours it would take you to cross the strait. It's a fair bit, and that would also cost $21,360 if you're buying Redodo batteries.
Lovely, which are pretty affordable.
Yeah.
That's a sheesh.
That's a sheesh.
I wonder how much they like us.
$21,000 worth? Maybe not so much. But these numbers get a lot more tolerable if you're willing to move at a slower pace. And this is basically, like, a lot of people go electric with small monohulls, like 36-foot monohulls, 30-foot monohulls. There's plenty of them out there with electric drives. You just have to temper your expectations. So motoring for an hour to get in and out of harbor, very achievable. If you putt out of the harbor at 3.5, 4 knots, and you
get to wind
and hoist sails and expect to just wind all day, then yeah, sure, maybe the whole setup might cost you $8,000 or $10,000, somewhere in that ballpark.
If you want to do any substantial motoring,
as you've learned in the last couple crossings, there is some substantial motoring out there. So
yeah,
my advice is buy your $500 V drive, get your motor running, splurge on it. It's also like, I'm drawing these numbers from the anecdotal stories I have of like fiberglass fin-keeled boats. They're not
that efficient.
They move through the water with less power, right? So you're not going to get that out of Dagon. So it's just, at the end of the day, it fits the aesthetic and the look and the feel of that boat better to just keep it for diesel for now.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not saying that you won't feel the beautiful feeling of a surge of electricity under your butt one day. I doubt Dagon's the boat for it though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. I just felt such a wonderful dream of motoring my tender on electricity and then hopping on an electric scoot, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is great. It's
Yeah,
quiet.
it is great. It is great. And you know what? Like an auxiliary pod drive that's a little 2 kilowatt pod drive that you
Yeah.
just swing over the transom. No reason you can't get that.
Yeah.
And that would be fine. And if you could get one for, $2,000 in the future and use it as an accessory to the doldrums just to put you along a little bit quicker.
Yeah, while
That's
you've
a
got
nice
solar
that's a nice
yeah.
little thing, and you've already got a 12-volt pack and you get it to run on 12 volt, and that would be really cool.
Yeah.
But like, keeping in mind, if it's 2 kilowatts, right? let's just do the math on that. So it's 2,000 watts divided by 12.2. You're pulling 164 amps into that motor continuously to run it at 2 kilowatts.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people don't run 12 volt straight to
why they do
48 or higher. 48 is
Yeah.
honestly the lowest you want to go.
Yeah.
The nice thing about 48 is there's still like inverters that run 48, but now you're getting inverters that can run off of 200 volt battery packs and stuff like that. So that does exist. That's a new thing that's coming onto the market. It's becoming more and more accessible. So we
Yeah.
might go down this road in the future.
I've been looking at like 200 horsepower motors, electric motors and stuff,
Yeah.
and they're all 48 volt now.
Oh, and up. Yeah, definitely. All modern cars right now are running 200 plus volts.
Sheesh.
All your modern electrics you see, like
Yeah.
the old, I think the first gen Nissan Leafs were still at 48 volt, but like they've gone past there now, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. I haven't done enough research to tell you that for certain, but like, yeah, the efficiencies you get in those motors for those applications too,
Yeah.
right? Like the marine application is different. Like it's full load all the time. You don't want to water cool them.
Yeah.
It's just a different application. So
I guess at best I could go hybrid with something off the transom or something off the prop shaft.
and given the complexity involved, I would suggest going with an electric dinghy.
Yeah, like a
Right.
Torpedo, 10 horsepower or something like that.
Yeah, or a larger trolling motor.
I like that one you made.
Yeah,
but
that's
it
cool.
It has to have a lot of juice.
I'm more thinking if you've got one that's more designed like your trolling motor, that's got the motor in the case underwater.
Yeah.
It cools itself. It's on an extendable shaft, so you can extend it off the transom of your large boat, or then
Yeah.
bolt it to your dinghy, and it works well in both applications.
Totally.
And it runs on 12 volt. That would be ideal for you. So
Yeah.
there are some 2 kilowatt ones, but they run 48 or 24 volt. I haven't personally found a 12 volt one. I'm sure there's one out there, but we can
Yeah.
track it
The
down.
one you gave me is 68 pounds of push or thrust.
72. So it
72,
it counts as 1 horsepower. So it's 700 and something.
And
watts.
that gets my boat a knot at best.
Yeah.
But you drop 2 of those or something off the stern and
More like you drop one with a more efficient prop on it.
yeah.
Better setup for that application. And yeah, it'll push your boat along at
Yeah.
maybe 2 knots.
Yeah.
Which would be nice.
Which is better than being stuck in the doldrums.
It's better than being stuck in the doldrums, and it would probably push your dinghy along at 3 or 4, which
Yeah.
would be great.
I was going 3.5 today. on the
3.5.
tender.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your tender, because it's a slippery little old school
Yeah.
one with a trolling motor, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
I would-
barely slower than the
I
outboard.
wouldn't put it on like inflatables. Don't move super well with
Yeah.
those. But even my HMS Patchy, that big square fiberglass thingy of mine, moves 2.5 knots with that
Yeah.
trolling motor. So
Crazy.
yeah, it's
So there's
doable.
options. There's
Yeah,
options.
and if you keep your lead foot off the gas pedal, you can get quite a lot of these electric motors, but you do have to temper your expectations. I get a lot of people coming to me being like, hey, I just bought this bayliner and the engines have exploded and I got a really good deal on it and I'm just gonna spend $200 or $300 and set up with electric motors, okay? And I'm like, I think it was somebody, yeah, exactly, it was a 30-foot bayliner and they wanted to replace the 2 gas engines and put electric motors in. I said, okay, to get across the strait would cost you $280,000 in batteries. and the batteries would take up more space than the boat
The
has.
boat itself, yeah.
We could do it.
Looking
Or we
at
could, I don't know. You'd have to tow it in a barge behind. I don't understand.
the volume I would need. Like
Yeah.
I've got space, but I don't have that kind of space.
No, it's a lot. So
Yeah.
just this is the math. It's quite simple. And the nice thing is if we were to stop doing things in horsepower and start doing things in kilowatts, it would make our lives so much easier, right? It's metric. It's easy to convert from one to the other. Of course, there's so many caveats. I've very simplified it here, but basically, it's you know what your boat does with a 20 horsepower engine in it or 28 horsepower. So you know what a 20 if you feel the 28 horsepower, you know a 20 kilowatt motor is going to do the same
Okay,
kind of
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
And then from there it's 1 kilowatt, and then okay, so how fast does it go with that kilowatt usage? And then that gives you a knot speed, and then you do the distance. So 23 is from Vancouver to Gabriola. And then I just divided it by 23. I was just basing everything off a trip to Gabriola, basically,
Yeah.
right? So motoring along at 4 kilowatts gave us the number down here of only needing a 30 kilowatt hour pack instead of a 60 kilowatt hour pack, covering the same distance.
Yeah.
So that's a different, and you're going
And I'm
from
at what, half a kilowatt right now on the boat?
no, you're at
I'm at
you've
400 amp hours.
yeah, so you're already at almost 5 kilowatts.
Oh,
Yeah, you're almost
well, that's
5
a lot
kilowatt
less
hours.
unattainable than it.
Yeah, so that 200, that's a 2.5 kilowatt hour battery right there.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you're at 5 kilowatts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
so-
have the battery space, no problem.
So
for
you
30.
need 6 times the batteries that you have right now,
Totally doable.
which is doable,
Yeah.
but it's it's a lot of battery.
It's a lot of money.
It is it's $10,680.
A lot of money.
You got $10,680, don't you?
Oh, totally.
Great.
Totally.
All right, guys, we've solved the problem. He's got $10,680. We're just gonna go swap
Dollars
it
or
in.
subscribers?
Oh, sorry, no, that's just the battery because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
still have to buy the motor and all that stuff. Okay. All right. Well,
Shit.
yeah. So do the math. Stop coming to me with your crazy. It's not magic, guys. It's not magic. Neither is diesel engines or gas engines or any of this other stuff.
Yeah.
You got to do the math.
Yeah.
Figure it out. It'll work, or it won't.
I'm a dreamer. What can I say?
Well, you're just not good at any math. Here's your
Yeah.
math.
Grade 4 dropout.
Okay, well,
That'll do it.
that'll do it.
That's the problem right there.
Yeah, what do you? You're not gonna have a calculator with you everywhere you go.
It's actually the exact opposite of what my teacher said. My teacher was like, "You should use your calculator for all this because for the rest of your life, you're always gonna have a calculator."
Your teacher
on
actually
for
said
each-"
that?
Yeah. Thanks for breaking that down and breaking my dreams.
Yeah, well, I do it a lot.
Yeah.
It's a bummer,
Yeah.
but
It's their style,
you said it yourself. It's the secondary form of propulsion. Plenty of
Yeah.
sailors get by with just motoring out into the strait and sailing, but we've seen
Yeah.
how that's gone for you the last few days. It's not been hot. And a lot of those guys who do that still have, a gas outboard on their dinghy.
Well, yeah, mine. I had one on my dinghy too. It was just underwater.
They don't have.
They need oxygen to run.
They do. You need to keep them dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Just do it.
Just do it. But also do the math first and save up some money because it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna watch a movie.
All right. Peace.